Welcome to the Chronic Health Collective, where we empower you to transform every area of your life. We gathered the best coaches and experts in the world to bring you weekly insights that will elevate your physical, your mental, and your spiritual well being. Whether you're looking to boost your energy, your heal relationships, or live a more productive, balanced life, we're here to guide you every step of the way. My name is Andy, and joining me to kick off our Chronic Health Collection series is mindset empowerment coach Jackie Mott. Hey, Jackie, how are you?
I am great, Andy. How are you?
I am better, just recovering from my trip, but I finally got my voice back, so I'm happy to be here.
Yay. Yay. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you how much I've been looking forward to this. I'm so excited to be with you. Thank you, everybody who's joining us. And I hope that we can give you some amazing information that will help you up level your life.
I love that. All right, let's just jump right on in, Jackie, and we can go in deep dive. We're kicking off October with a little self check. How big of a deal do you think reflections are when it comes to leveling up in your life? And are we talking it's a game changer here, or is it just like another buzzword everyone talks about?
Well, I'm going to give you my personal opinion, and I think the right opinion, by the way. But it is absolutely a game changer when you do it right. When you do it right, because there's like the surface level stuff,
Hmm.
right? We can sort of like think about the surface level stuff, and then we can actually take the time and go through a process to go deeper, and that's where it can be a game changer. Because when we're when we have those things bottled up inside us, they will impact everything that we do. They'll impact our relationships. They'll even impact our money flows,
Mm.
right? So one of the things, and this is probably going to be a thing that I share on the show most of the time when I'm on here, is there's two really important things that we need to understand. Is that we carry these subliminal soundtrack is my terminology that I use for it. We carry these with us all day, every day, and what we need to understand is that what we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. And the second thing is that we build our lives, we build our circumstances to support the belief systems that we carry. So that is one of the really important parts of this reflection piece is that if we don't understand what we're carrying around, and it could be, that subliminal stuff, it could be that heartbreak, it could be trauma or abuse from our past, it could be anything. But when we don't get clear and understand those things, then they will impact us. They will cause us to create those belief systems that I just
Mhm.
talked about, and they will cause us to create the circumstances that actually enforce those belief systems, the circumstances, the relationships. So, for example, if I believe that I'm unworthy of being treated with kindness and respect, then I am going to subconsciously bring the people into my life that will treat me with unkindness and disrespect.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
So that reflection piece is a game changer because it helps us to get to those things, and then we can start to change them and we can start to shift them. And when we do that, everything changes.
That is interesting, because I think everyone tries to leave the past behind,
Mhm.
right? When it comes to reflection. And like I said, this is a good time of the year to self-check. We're in October, almost 2024 is almost over, right?
Right.
And I think, for a lot of businesses, they're always looking, hey, how did I perform? But there's so much more in your life than just business, right? Like, how did your
Mhm.
relationships perform? How did your finances, how did your personal growth, your health, your exercise,
Right.
and if you don't reflect back, you can't move forward, right? I
Right.
think a lot of us, we really bury down the bad stuff, right?
Mhm.
So when it come, like, how bad is that really?
Well, and I mean,
We
it
talk
doesn't
about
help
mixed
us.
emotions and stuff like that. Because some of us,
Yeah.
if someone asks me, they say, "Well, how bad is your life, Andy?" And usually I say, "It's pretty good." But I
Right.
have some bad stuff, and I don't think about it much, so it doesn't really come up, right? And I'm
Right.
sure that comes up with a lot of people, right?
Well, of course, and I mean, it does impact us in ways. So, I mean, you're a health person. You understand this probably better than I do. But when we don't deal with those things and they get locked up in our body, then that is the stuff that starts to create health problems, right?
Hmm.
High blood pressure, digestive issues,
Hmm.
cancer. All of these things they have studies that take them right back to we're carrying around anger, or we're carrying around bitterness, we're carrying around unforgiveness, all of that kind of stuff. So as hard and as painful as it is sometimes to pull those things up and face them, when we don't, they will impact us in so many different ways. And I mean, we know what happens when our health gets into those kinds of places, right? That's deadly.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
That's deadly stuff. So, I mean, it's not easy. It's not comfortable.
Hmm.
It's smart.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
smart, and there are so many resources out there. Like this collective is full of coaches that can help you navigate or address or unpack those things and, get to a healthier place, make your peace with the things that have happened and get to a healthy place because we want to move forward, right?
Hmm.
And I'll share with you, I know you've read it. There's an article that I posted on Facebook, and I'm not going to go too far into it on the show. I'm going to actually say if you want to really get the juice and the details, go to my Facebook page and find it. It's got a great big rainbow photo on it. I'm calling it the Rainbow Post, and it feels so appropriate because what's in it is actually me coming through the storm and into that rainbow season. So find that post. But as I was writing it and as I was going through some of the stuff in there, one of the things that really became clear to me is that we do have these things that we don't like to talk about.
Hmm.
That's okay. You don't need to bare your soul in public, right? I tend to do that, but you don't have to.
I'm guilty of that sometimes too. Like it's
I
like
know. I
verbal
know.
rant.
I know. So when we lock those things down, we do that for a reason. It's a survival thing, right?
Mhm.
Like I promise you, if I were living in the space of some of these painful experiences that I've had in my life, and I think this is true for everybody, if I were to unpack and live there, I couldn't get out of bed,
Mhm.
right? I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. I wouldn't be able to function. I wouldn't be able to do my work. I wouldn't be able to take care of my family or any of the other things that are important to me. Right? So
Mhm.
it's not unusual for us to do that. And in fact, there's a very good reason to do that. But when we do, we can also start to take away the power that those things have. Right? It's like that
Mhm.
that boogeyman in the closet, right? You open up the closet and they disappear. So
Not
when we
always,
bring
but yeah,
things
sure. If you see
when we bring them out into the light, they lose their power, right?
Yes, I totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah. So
All right.
that's sort of the perspective that I carry is I think it's always best to learn. And I mean, the better we know ourselves, the better choices we're going to make, the better people we're going to surround ourselves with, the better circumstances we're going to create for ourselves,
Hmm.
right? The better we know ourselves, and that doesn't just mean the light side. That means all of you as a collective, as a whole,
Hmm.
knowing yourself deeply. Also, we can fall into traps of our own making when we don't get clear on some of those things that we do to ourselves, those unhealthy patterns or the cycles that we find ourselves getting caught up in. That's my perspective. Anyway, what are
It,
your
it,
thoughts on that?
I like that. I like that because like it is such a buzzword nowadays. A lot of
Mhm,
people say, "Oh, it's so woo woo." Reflecting about life is like there's only today. Why worry about yesterday? I
mhm,
think who you are today is all about yesterday,
mhm,
right? So I totally believe it's like what you said is like you have to take it the good and the bad,
mhm.
right? And I think that helps you get clarity sometimes because I
Sure.
think right now it doesn't matter what you're facing, if it's health problems, financial problems, relationship problems, productivity problems, or just trying to figure out what your next move is,
Mm-hmm.
is like most of us don't have clarity.
Right.
It's funny. Like I'll walk into Costco, and most of the time I have clarity. This is what I'm going to buy, right? And then you get distracted, right? And they're smart. They put the big TVs up front. Every time I walk in, I tell them, "Wow, that 100-inch TV is going to look amazing in my living room." Even though you the only way you're going to watch is outside my house, basically, right? But the clarity is what comes when you have reflections, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like you said, is to see the steps that you've taken, and depending on, some have more trauma, some have some happy stuff, right? It's not,
Of
it's funny
course.
because you see it's your rainbow post, right?
Mm.
And when I saw the post, I didn't read it yet. I saw the picture. Oh wow! I was like, this is gonna be all rainbows and kittens and unicorns. And I was reading. Oh my god, this is like her very soul, right? I was like, this is amazing. And I think a lot of people need to sometimes bear their soul out a little bit, not necessarily for people to see, but for themselves to see.
Yeah, that is a really great point. That is a really great point. And when you talk about clarity, I mean, when we're hiding from ourselves, how can we possibly have clarity, right? How can you possibly know what you want? When we acknowledge the stuff that has been unpleasant for us, for example, when we acknowledge that stuff, then we can start to go, oh, okay, I don't want that anymore. And
Mhm.
that can also then help us to redefine or think about the things that we do want to have in our lives or want to bring into our lives. And I don't know, is next week Candace? Because Candace is the
Yes,
manifestation. Oh my God, she is so good. She is
yes.
so good. I've seen this woman in action. She's amazing. But that's the thing, right? If we don't know what we don't want or we can't acknowledge, and the unhealthy patterns, I mean, oh my God, some of the stuff that I got caught up in, and I didn't even know I was doing it,
Mhm.
right? Didn't even realize that I was doing it, but just kept on getting caught up in that same pattern over and over. And you hear about these folks that are in an abusive relationship, for example, and then not long after, oh, they're back in another different relationship, but it's another abusive relationship,
Correct.
or they go back, right? And
Mhm.
that's all of that stuff because they're not looking at what is causing me to get caught up in this dynamic that is so unhealthy for me.
That is so true. We're going to be going for a short break, but before we do that, I just wanted to bring something up because you mentioned Candace, and it was really funny because before this show was conceptualized, after speaking to Candace and all the reflections I had, this came about. So, but we'll be right back after this short break. All right, strap in, folks. We're about to take a joyride through the fountain of youth. It's Annie Nam from Chronically Healthy Life. Ever wonder why some folks seem to age like fine wine, while others are more like a molded cheese that's been forgotten in the back of the fridge? It's like they got the energy of a Duracell bunny on Red Bull, while the rest of us are running on fumes. Now, you might think hitting the gym and munching on kale is the ticket to eternal youth, but sometimes it feels more like we're just speeding up the aging process. Picture this. You're on the treadmill, feeling like $1,000,000, and suddenly you look down and realize your knees sound like a bag of popcorn in the microwave. Not exactly the sound of youth, am I right? But fear not, my friends, because here's the kicker. It's not just about the number of candles on your birthday cake. It's all about those sneaky little stem cells playing hide and seek inside your body. At the age of 20, you got more of these bad boys than you can shake a stick at. But fast forward a few decades, and they're scarce as a parking spot in downtown Manhattan. But guess what? We got a secret weapon up our sleeves. Phototherapy patch technology without drugs. That's right, folks. With our stem cell activation patches, you can hit the rewind button on aging faster than you can say reverse aging. So if you're ready to reclaim your youth, look younger, feel stronger, and heal faster than a superhero with a side of espresso, then it's time to hop on board the rejuvenation train. Get your stem cell activation patches now at lifewave.com/chronically healthy life. And let's make aging look like yesterday's news. It's not anti-aging, it's reverse aging, baby. Every time I see that commercial, I imagine myself as that super flying rabbit.
I know.
Oh my gosh. We unpacked so much first in the first segment,
Mm.
and as I was sitting here, just absorbing in your wisdom, um, we talk about past experiences, regardless if they're good or bad, right? And I guess my next question, and I think a lot of people are probably wondering the same thing, is are we basically the sum of all our past experiences, whether they were fabulous or total disaster?
Well, that is an amazing question. And I'm going to say no. Just flat out no. So my belief system and what I do with my clients, what I've done with groups, what I do in um, like when I'm speaking and all of that kind of stuff. What I do is I talk to people about exactly that. It's a choice.
Hmm.
It's a choice. I went through a really difficult divorce. Before that, I mean, there's so many stories, right? I lost my sister in a car accident. I became a mom at 17. I lived in poverty for, right? Like there's so many different stories. And you get to choose. Like that's the thing. And most of us, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but I didn't know that for a long time. And I think a lot of people don't realize that we get to make a choice. So again, I think I mentioned a few minutes ago about unpacking and living there. And that's really the thing, right?
Hmm.
So what happened for me recently was this year has been an incredible year. And again, that Facebook post, I share a lot about what happened. But one of the things that really gave me pause was when a very dear friend of mine, very, very, very dear friend of mine came to me and she expressed that she was worried. And she said, Jackie, I've known you for decades. I think we met when we were, I don't know, 15 or 16 years old, and I'm turning 53 next month. So we've known each other a long time. And she said, you're not, I don't recognize you anymore. You've always been this positive, bubbly, fun person, and I don't recognize you anymore. And that made me pause. And I'm just going to throw this in there because I don't pause for everybody. I am very, very clear on who gets to have that kind of impact or power in my life. But she is one of those people for me. And so I started to really think about things. And what I discovered was that I was carrying around a lot of unresolved pain
Hmm.
and unresolved grief and all of that kind of stuff. So I did go into a very, very, very deep reflection. And it was only by doing that I was able to find my way back to myself. It was only by doing that I was able to identify sort of those pieces and release the pain and work my way through the grief. I mean, I have a saying and not everybody agrees with it, but pain is unavoidable, pain
Hmm.
is inevitable, suffering is optional because
Oh,
the
I love
suffering happens when we
that.
unpack, right?
Hmm.
So when we unpack in the circumstance, the traumatic circumstance that happened to us, whatever it is, if you
Hmm.
unpack and try to live there, then you will very likely become bitter and angry, and you will never ever be able to become who you were born to be. You will never be able to fully embrace and enjoy your life. You will never be able to, make things and people the priorities that a healed version of you would make them,
Hmm.
right? We suffer, we choose to suffer in that space, and it is just not necessary to do that. So you get to choose who you want to be. My experience was this: I was with the same person for 27 years. I'd met him when I was 19 years old, so I hadn't even like fully cooked yet, right? But I was already a mom
Hmm.
and met this guy, fell madly in love with him, and we built a life together, and we were together for a very, very, very long time. I didn't know that it was coming. I did not know it was coming, and when it hit me, It was like, that ground zero. And I know some people don't like me using that, but that's what it felt like for me.
Mhm.
My entire world blew up in a matter of a 5-minute conversation. And so then it was a process of going through this, like, okay, so what will make me happy? What do I want? What do I choose? And I remember running a summit, and it was called the Starting Over Summit. It was sort of targeted for women going through divorce at midlife, or
Mhm.
have recently gone through divorce, or maybe not so much. And I was talking with one of our speakers. She's Alec Gexy, I think is her name. She is a family lawyer out of Florida. And her and I were having a conversation, and she said, "Okay, well, how long ago did all of this happen?" And I don't know. I'm gonna say it was 2 years. I can't even remember, to be honest with you. But I told her how, and she just looked at me. She said, "How in the world? Like, you're running a summit to support women who are going through this incredibly difficult, and you have literally just how are you doing this so early in this process?" And I said to her, "Well, I made a choice."
Mhm.
I looked around me, and I'm sure any one of us can relate to this. I looked around me and I saw these beautiful, amazing women that I knew who had gone through a situation that had broken their hearts. They'd lost their partner, they'd lost the life they thought they were going to have, whatever. And they lived there. They never got past it. And in some cases, decades later, these women are still wrestling with that pain and feeling betrayed and feeling,
Mhm.
all of that kind of stuff, right? And I said, I just looked around and saw, and I was not going to do that. That was not going to be my life. I've got way too much to do. I've got way too much fun to have. I've got way too many things that I want to experience while I have time on this planet, and I have my health and all of that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. I don't have time to live in that space. And when you read the post, what did you read? I got caught right back in that space again because of
Correct.
some of the circumstances that happened as I was going through that process, right? So we do get to choose, and we do sometimes fall down, but the good
Mhm.
news is we can choose to get back up.
Well, let me ask you this,
Yeah.
because everything you're explaining is my mom to a T.
Okay.
Like I got 10 siblings. A few passed away from health conditions. But I'm the youngest, and I get along with all my siblings. Well, most of them anyway. But that's another story for another day. But anyways, none of my siblings get along with my mom because they do something wrong, and she'll remember it for the rest of her life. It's
Mhm.
like she does not forget. Um, for those that think it is necessary to remember these things, at what point do you think they should be making a choice to let it go? Because, like, for the life of me, I've been trying to do this for my mom, to tell her to let it go, and it just passes over. Like, once that person dies, well, she just transferred the hate to the next sibling. Like when my hated my dad died, now it's transferred to my oldest sibling. It's like, it's just constant. It's almost like they want to be stuck in that victim mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do,
Hmm.
right? And usually where I go with those kinds of conversations is like, what's the payoff? What's the benefit? What's the thing that people are getting from staying in that place? And I mean, you can't force, nobody can force somebody to make those kinds of changes.
Correct.
That's the really difficult truth,
Hmm.
is that especially when we love somebody and we're watching them go through something, and we can't force them to come out the other side, right?
Exactly.
We can encourage them, we can love them, we can, you know, try to I'm going to say entice, because like what could you have if you don't stay in that space?
Hmm.
But that's the piece. I mean, that's really all I've got, is we can encourage them, and we can try to help them refocus, but they're the ones that have to choose it, right?
Correct. And then
It,
they have to, by helping them sort of decide, they do actually have that choice to be in a different mind space then, right?
mhm.
Like, that's not the only decision they have.
Mm.
right? Because it's just interesting because it's not just my family. I have friends that are like that way too. Is that
Sure.
they
Sure.
have a grudge and forever is like, wow, like that's like 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. And it's like we all grew up, we were kids, that was stupid, but
Mhm.
it's interesting, right? Because like some people just choose, like you said, they just choose to hang on to these things and like you said, as when it comes to reflections, what is that stopping them to do by
Mhm.
hanging on to all that negativity, you think?
Mhm. It really is, right? Like it's that victim mindset is it's poisonous. Like it
Mhm.
really is toxic. And what we don't realize, I've been really fortunate because I've had opportunities to take classes and learn from mentors
Mhm.
and I have been incredibly blessed in that way, read books, all kinds of stuff. And, I was guilty of that too, because that was how I grew up.
Yes,
Oh, everything was someone else's fault.
yes.
And right. And then I go and have a baby at 17. Good Lord. Right? Oh, my life is over. I've
Yeah.
ruined everything. And through the other stuff, I started to understand that I bought into those stories. They weren't even mine.
Mhm.
Remember what I said, right?
Yes.
What we believe to be true will be true, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna get up on my soapbox for a second because we brought it up and I just have to. But
Yeah.
as a 17-year-old girl, the messaging that I received from the people that I turned to or looked to for guidance, for understanding. I mean, I was still a kid, right?
Mhm.
So the people that I looked to instruct me and guide me and, tell me things, it was all life is over. You've ruined your life. You're done. You're 17 years old. You better get used to that bed that you made for yourself because now you've got to lie in it. All of that kind of stuff, right? And it breaks my heart now because what I have come to understand is, that 17-year-old girl that made that announcement was the same girl that she had been 5 minutes before she said those words,
So
right?
true.
She still had the same drive. She still had the same brains, the same intelligence, the same ambition, the same like everything. The world was her oyster, man. She was an honors student. She volunteered in the community. I learned sign language just because I wanted to learn it. And then I worked with kids as a volunteer
Mhm.
who were deaf, right? That's the girl. That's who the girl was. Now, coming into that space of now there's a baby, of course it
Mhm.
complicates things. Of
Yes.
course it does, right? Of course it changes the circumstances. And there is no reason why I couldn't have gone on to do everything. It may have taken me longer to get to those goals, Andy, but there
Correct.
is no reason in this world why I couldn't have gone on to be exactly the same person that my trajectory was pushing me toward before that happened. There's no reason in the world.
Correct.
So
Correct.
we get to choose.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, when we don't choose, when we don't make a conscious choice and we start to buy into these messages, like look at all of this crazy negativity that's going on in the world right now.
Correct.
When we choose to pay attention to what the media is saying and what's happening in politics and all of that stuff,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
We will internalize that energy. We will take it into ourselves, and again, we will start to create the circumstances that actually make those things true because we believe them.
Correct. Correct.
Right? So we'll bring the people into our lives and the circumstances into our lives and the opportunities and the all of it, the money flows, all of it. So if I believed that I was going to be living in poverty for the rest of my life, and believe me, there was a point that I did expect that,
Correct.
right? There was a
Mhm.
point where I fully expected that I was going to be living with nothing and couldn't even afford to buy myself underwear when they were falling apart, right?
Correct. Correct. Mhm. Mhm.
And if I had chosen to not, because there was always something, like there was always this something inside that was like, you're not going to give up. you're gonna get there. You're gonna keep pushing. You're gonna give this boy a good life. You were gonna, right? And I just couldn't stop. I couldn't give up. I couldn't buy into 100% those beliefs that my life was over, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I started to make choices that opened doors, that started me on personal development journey, that opened up opportunities for me, all of this kind of stuff, right? But I had to make that choice. So are we, you know, who these experience are? I'm living proof, my friend. No.
I love that. And what you were talking about from the point that you were such a great student, and then life happens, you got pregnant, things
Mm-hmm.
happen, right? Things could have gone very differently. While
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about your life here, I am a very big Marvel fan. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like thinking that, wow, that's sort of like the Doctor Strange movie where he's have all these parallel worlds of all these different choices. And they were
Right.
all different choices, right? He
Right.
did this choice, he turns evil. He did this choice, this person dies. He did that choice, that person dies. He did this choice,
Right.
the world dies. But not being so cryptic about it, but it's very true for our life too. We got all these choices.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't make it, you don't know where your life's going to be, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
really like your ideas. Like what you said there is like, even though you did get a child, you got pregnant very early on, but look at you now,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got an amazing life. You're changing lives and you're living proof. You don't have to be living, in my mind, oh, you should be living in some trailer park in some small town that no one even heard of. And you're waitressing at a small diner, right? Like a lot
Right.
of people will think that would be what happens, right? So
Sure.
I think
Sure.
what you said is so true. You made those conscious choices and you made sure you were still on trajectory to where you wanted to be.
Mm.
I love it. But we'll be right back and we're gonna be giving you the secret sauce to how to break out of this whole thing.
Are you struggling to communicate effectively or lead with clarity? At Bambushu Coaching, Vince, a certified peace specialist and brain health trainer, offers solutions tailored to your needs. Whether it's developing better leadership skills, improving communication, or fostering peace in stressful environments, Vince has the tools to help you thrive. Through personalized coaching and training, Vince helps you tap into your strengths, reduce stress, and communicate with confidence. The result: stronger leadership, clearer communication, and more peaceful, productive environments. Ready to lead with clarity and peace? Connect with Vince at Bambushu Coaching today.
Welcome back to Chronic Health Collective. Those are just two samples of our other two amazing coaches you're going to see later on this season. But back into the show. So, Jackie, for all of us that's been all through these not so great life moments, the ones that we don't even want to remember, what's the secret sauce to not just surviving these bad memories, but using them to level up to improve your life?
So there are a few different ways that I can answer that. I think the one I'm going to go with for tonight is
Mm-hmm.
that we need to change the story.
Mm.
We need to flip the script. We need to take away the importance that we have given to a circumstance. It's like I said. I mean, you can live in the trauma, or you can change your story. So, with that circumstance of becoming a mom so young, at a certain point, I had to start to acknowledge, wow. I suppose had to is the wrong way to say it, but you understand what I mean. I chose to
Right.
acknowledge that, holy crap, I had this kid when I was 17 and I still ended up a college grad, and I still ended up with a business and, a long-term marriage and owning a home and I still got there, even though I started there. And holy crap, what does that say about me? So we can give the power to the circumstance, we can give the power to the person or the circumstance or the situation that harmed us, that hurt us, that traumatized us. We can give them the power. And as long as we do that, then, as you said, the victim mindset, right? We get stuck in that victim mindset because it's all their fault. So here's your power position. Here's your power position. You have to take responsibility for the choices and the decisions that led. And I know that that is incredibly uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I'm not talking about fault and blame. Okay? I am not talking fault and blame because that is a whole different conversation and usually not terribly productive, right? Usually not. I have to accept responsibility for my part. The choices that I made that led me to be in a position where I did become pregnant at 17. The choices I made that led me to be in a position where I was, in that ground zero moment because my life had just imploded. I hadn't been paying attention. I hadn't been paying attention, and I need to own that. I hadn't been making good choices for myself in either one of those two circumstances. And because I wasn't making good choices or wasn't really paying attention to what was going on around me, that was what put me in that position. It's not saying that something didn't happen outside of your control or that somebody didn't do something foolish or thoughtless or, I don't want to get into the hard words, but you understand, right? I don't like to live in that space, but it's not about it's not about that something didn't happen, right? But it's about what am I going to do with this now? Right? Because that's the other piece is we can't change anything that we've done. We can't change the conversations we've had. We can't change the choices that we made. We can use that as information to help us move forward in a different direction. We can use that as the learning piece that helps us propel ourselves in a different way. And there is on my website, there is 5 steps to create a mindset wired for success. There's a download on there. Anybody can grab that. That is free of charge. So that might actually help with some of those tips. But we get to choose how we're going to perceive the thing. We get to decide whether we're going to stay in the trauma or whether we're going to remove the power that thing has over us. And this reflection bit is so important to that because we don't sometimes understand that the power that we're giving things or the energetic charge that something has until we allow ourselves to really look at ourselves, at our reactions, at how we're feeling. All of that stuff is the stuff that will escape us as long as we keep it buried. So the reflection part actually is really relevant to your question. We get to choose. We get to decide the importance that we give things. We get to decide, so somebody says it's what is that thing that you see on Facebook sometimes? The thing about like you have a cup of coffee and you somebody bumps your arm and you spill a tiny bit of your cup of coffee, you're going to let that ruin your whole life, your whole day, right? It's that perspective. You get to decide the importance and the story that you tell yourself around any kind of circumstance. So making those choices, consciously making those choices, consciously addressing the parts of yourself that are leading you back down into those places or keeping you stuck. Again, I'm going to go back to that rainbow article, the rainbow post, because I had what I shared in there was that I had armored myself up and didn't even realize, and I needed to do that. There was a time when that was helpful and when it was necessary in order for me to get through what I was going through. But by the time I realized that I was still carrying it, it was then that's that conversation with my friend. I don't know who you are anymore because I had stayed in that place of darkness and pain and anger for far, far, far too long, right? So we can take the armor off. We can take the pieces apart, and there are tips and tricks. I mean, this is one of the things that I do really well with people. So if somebody needs help with this, and I think you're going to give them a link, but there's a link, the book a call with Jackie.com.
Hmm.
You're in a position where you cannot seem to figure out how to do that, please take advantage. It's a free call. It's 30 minutes, I think. Just call and we can talk about it.
Yeah, you brought up so many points there, and one
Mm,
of them was, I think that's very important, is so many of us, we give away our power,
mhm,
right? Because you mentioned that, because like we stay in that negative space and someone is actually controlling that negative space. And the choice, like you said, is choosing to get back that power, because we always have the power for all our decisions. They shouldn't be dependent on someone else. So I think that is very relevant for everyone out there, is like, if we doing a little bit of reflection for all the things that have negatively happened to you, what are you going to do about it, right?
mm,
Are you going to leave that to the person, the last person that is affecting your life forever, or are you going to make a choice and take that power back? I think that's very important. I think what you're seeing there for the choices and everything that moves forward for us, it is so true. And sorry about that. I hope I was muted. It's like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, thank.
you were fine. You were fine. I think that too, that power piece is so right. Like, what do you want? What do you want from your life?
Mhm.
And that is something that I think we need to ask ourselves, maybe not like every day, but take some time every once in a while and think about it. What do I want from life? How do I feel about what's happening around me? Do I want to continue this? Does this feel good? Does it feel not good? Right? Am I happy with this? These are things that are so important to ask ourselves. And I want to, because I know we're just about out of time here, but I want to give a couple of ideas on how you can get into that space of
Yeah.
reflection. Is for me, I feel like people overcomplicate things all the time, and
Mhm.
this does not have to be complicated. Do something that allows you to unplug from your everyday life. So for me, in all honesty, dishes can be one of those things because it's so mindless, Andy. Like, I can stand there and I can do my dishes, and there's something about the warm water and the suds, and I can just kind of zone out and let myself be peaceful for a moment, right? Walking in nature or sitting in a park.
Mhm.
Journaling is a great way to do this. Meditating is a great way to do this. Not everybody finds meditation all that easy to do, but if you can, that's a great way to do this. Anything that allows you to sort of come out of the crazy sort of day to day, all of the pieces, the phone's ringing and dogs barking and the kids are whatever, somebody needs to cook dinner, all of that stuff, right? Find a space where you can come out of all of that distraction and craziness. Watch this show because I am telling you, the experts, I know several of these people, and the ones that I don't know yet, I am really looking forward to getting to know because there is so much collective brilliance in this group that you and Minna have pulled together. And I watch the show. Find something that allows you to get out of your regular day-to-day space, and then
Mhm.
just let yourself float. Ask yourself some questions. Ask yourself, am I happy? Am I happy with where I am right now? And if I'm not, then what's happening? And do your very best to stay in a curiosity place, not in a judgment place, because judgment gets us nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. So staying curious, like, okay, so what is happening right now? And something just happened at work that's got me really upset. Okay, so what happened, and then what is the importance that I'm giving to that thing? And one of the things that I love to talk to my son, and he's 35 now. Can you imagine? He's 35. Anyway, so we have these great conversations sometimes, and one of the things that I really like for us to talk about is this kind of idea of like, what is the importance that I am giving to that thing, right?
Mm,
Do I have any control? I have no idea, no control over politics. I have none, right? I don't have any control over the legal system. I don't have any control over, there's so many things that I have absolutely no control over. And it was so funny, Andy, because he used to say to me, "Oh, you just have no idea what's going on in this world, and you need to know better what's going on." I said, "Oh no, I know what's going on in this world, but I choose to focus my attention, my time, my energy on my corner of the world where I have some control over what happens. I can choose how I show up. I can choose, what I'm going to put out into the world. I can
correct.
choose how I'm going to speak to people. I can choose how I'm going to do my best to impact whoever is in my realm, right? Outside of that, and control is an illusion.
I love that because that just brings something that people is always asking me, Minna, is like we don't watch the news,
Mm, mhm,
right? And the way me and Minna look at things is like if we can't do anything about what's going on, or if it doesn't affect our life in a certain way, it's not our problem. It's someone else's
right,
monkey, right? We
right.
got so many things that we're dealing with all the time, anyways. We don't need another monkey on our shoulder
Mhm,
taking our attention away. So I think what you're telling your son is so true. Is like, well, I choose because I can't control it anyway.
mm-mm,
Why does that need to take up space? It's sort of the
right.
same situation. Like you remember Steve Jobs, who always wear the same turtleneck because
Yeah.
choosing is taking up mind space, is taking up mental energy, right?
Mhm,
And all that is once again a choice, right? I think
mhm.
that is very important. I do have one question for you,
Ooh,
and I think
please.
this will be interesting because I'm just hearing everything that has negatively happened, and I know you fairly well. I'm getting to know you better and better,
Mm,
so life seems pretty good now.
yes.
But for all of those that have bad things happen, because people is always going to say, "Well, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me?" And for me, Minna, we always try to look for the good and the bad,
Mhm.
right? Do you believe that is something that people should concentrate more on? Because certain things happen all the time, right? But then at the same
Mhm.
time, when something bad happens, a door always opens,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
And like, do,
absolutely.
do, do you believe that door is an opportunity for something better?
Always. Always. And one of the things that came up when you were asking that question for me, Dr. No, Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, right? Everybody will know who that is. I
Yeah.
hope everyone knows who that is. I saw something that he had written or been interviewed or something, and he was talking about when he was a little boy, and something was on TV, some tragedy, accident, something had
Mhm.
happened on TV, and he was watching it, and he was so upset about. It's a very sensitive man, very
Sure.
kind man,
Yes.
very you know kind-hearted, and he was so upset about whatever had happened, and his mom came in to comfort him, and she said, "Okay, and watch for the helpers. Whenever there is a tragedy or an accident or something bad happens, look for the helpers
Hmm.
because the helpers are there too. The helpers are always there too."
I love that. I
Mm,
love that. I love that. So, Jackie, for all those that want to learn a little bit more about your back end
mm.
story and how we can help them with maybe some of these unfortunate things to help unpack them, what's the best way for our viewers to reach you?
So they can find my website at jackiemott.com.
Hmm.
And it is under construction right now, so it will be looking different in about a month than it does currently, but you can still find lots of great information on there. You
Correct.
can go on Facebook and find me at Jackie Mott Mindset and Empowerment Expert.
Okay.
I have a YouTube channel, which I don't think I gave you the link, and I don't even know what that is, but I have a YouTube channel because I had my own show for almost 3 years, and I'm
Love it.
uploading all of those videos to that.
Yeah.
And they can reach out to me, as I said, to book a call with Jackie.com.
Okay.
Email is Jackie@JackieMott.com. That's it. I'm here.
And the QR code is your calendar. You can just scan that and book a call of you right away. And you have a free consult or your first call or
Yeah, yeah. It's a 30-minute call, and you'll be asked a couple of questions just to help me understand what we're going to be talking about because,
Mhm.
show up on the call and I don't know what we're talking about. That's not helpful. So, yeah, it's a 30-minute call. It is absolutely free of charge. And then if you want more information about working with me after that, then we can have that conversation then.
I love it. I love it. Well, I hope that all our viewers have learned a little bit more about the importance of reflection. Next week, we're going to have manifesting coach Candace McKim. She's going to dive in a little bit more about the importance of reflection for the month of October. So join us here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. CST. You can watch past episodes at watch.e360tv.com in the Vitality TV network or on our YouTube channel at Chronically Healthy Life. If you want to know more about Chronic Health Collective, visit our website at chronichealthcollective.com. You can learn a little bit more about all our coaches there. You can book our coaches there for a consult and dive into the areas of life you need improvement on. We always want to hear your comments, questions, suggestions about our show. And since this is our second episode, please comment on our Facebook page, Chronic Health Collective, or email me at anything@chronicallyhealthylife.com. We'll see everyone next week. Goodbye now.